Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having a fine Tuesday wherever you may be. I hope everybody enjoyed week 1 of the NFL season. Welcome to Loro and Friends Inside the NFL. This is the Patriots part of the show because Ben and I do our weekly picks on the MI6 Sports Network. But in my network, we change things up so that Ben and I on Tuesdays can just talk about Patriot weekly game recaps and preview the next one. My name is LoroAntonio. With me today is Ben Kurse, as we are going to be recapping the Patriots and Dolphins game and also some of our big takeaways from week 1 of the NFL season, of the 2021 NFL season. I almost slipped there. So, Ben, how's it going?
Doing good, Loro. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a hot day here. I bet it's kind of hot and humid back in your neck of the woods. So, anyways, let's get started with our Patriots and Dolphins game recap, and we'll talk about players of the game. So, let's start with the game recap. So, my overall thoughts is that the Patriots played very well offensively. Defensively, they were not bad at all. But I just felt like that forced fumble on Damian Harris when he fumbled that ball, that was costly. But a lot of people are saying, oh, this loss was on Mac Jones. It's not on Mac Jones because Mac Jones gave us the best chance to win, and he kept us in ball games. So, Ben, what are your overall takeaways from week 1 of the Patriots and Dolphins?
You know, obviously the outcome was very disappointing, the fact that the Patriots had a chance to win at the end. But I also like to see it as kind of a glass half full. Obviously you don't like to have moral victories in the NFL, but as a Patriot fan myself, I was really curious to see how Mac Jones would do in his debut. That Miami defense, I think for the most part, can't be overlooked. They have a lot of good speed guys on that defense. Guys like Jerome Baker, Christian Wilkins. So they gave Mac Jones a really tough test in that first game. And I thought for the most part, outside kind of the first quarter where he had a little bit of jitters, and obviously that's very common for a young guy, I thought he really rose to the occasion as the game went on. It seemed like he got better and he got more confident as the game went on. And I think as a Patriot fan, you got to really feel really good about what you have in your future. At least I know it's only one game. Yes, he'll have his bad moments as well too. But I think that for his first outcome, you really have to be kind of pleased in terms of the way that he performed. Like you said, Damian Harris had that key fumble at the end. The Patriots really came down to two things of the reason why they lost the game. 4 fumbles on the day. You can't, obviously, in the NFL, expect to win games when you have multiple turnovers. And then penalties. The key penalties and a lot of key drives, a lot of stalled drive and missed opportunities, as well as field goal opportunities that could have been into touchdown scores. So I know that the Patriots had a chance to win, but they had a bunch of things that kind of delayed the opportunities for them to win by penalties, turnovers, and stuff like that. The good thing is, though, you have 17 weeks. The first week, I know the outcome could have been into a win, but you obviously have to be very, very pleased with the way that your quarterback was, and you hopefully have a future in the making in terms of the quarterback that kind of showed his display on Sunday. In terms of the Dolphins, that was a big win for them. And, the Brady years, they usually would never win in Gillette Stadium, but obviously without Brady, Tua Tagovailoa is actually now 2-0 against Bill Belichick. Record-wise, I know it's a short sample size. And Brian Flores is 3-2 against Bill Belichick. So Brian Flores is, of course, not afraid to go against the master. As we said before the game, student versus master. It seemed like Brian Flores has a very good scheme. Of course, he's been with the Patriots in the past, so he kind of obviously understands what they run and stuff like that. So it was a really good, close, tight-knit game. Wish the Patriots won the game. But like, we said before, it's only one game. Tough loss. You got to move on. And we'll talk about the Jets coming week 2. On Sunday, but you really got to be pleased with a lot of things that they did well. The tight ends did a lot of good things well. Receivers did some things, but the quarterback was the main thing that we really want to see, and Mac Jones really rose to the occasion on Sunday.
He sure did. So the next time the Patriots play the Dolphins is not until the last Sunday of the regular season, so we have a while to not see the Miami Dolphins. So we'll talk about the Jets in just a minute, so let's talk about players of the game for the Patriots on offense. Our offensive player of the game for the Patriots. So my pick for Patriots offensive player of the game in week 1 against the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to say Mac Jones because I thought Mac Jones looked confident and he made a good first impression in front of the fans in Gillette Stadium. And I also thought that he did what he had to do. But what was funny was he did not want his game, the football, when he threw his first game-winning touchdown. He just tossed it all over the place. And who is your Patriots offensive player of the game in Week 1 against the Dolphins?
Well, I know a lot of people want to say Mac Jones, and deservedly so. But I'm going to go with another guy. I'm going to go with Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar in the offseason, a receiver that we got from the Raiders. He missed quite a bit of offseason time, and I thought that Aguilar really rose to the occasion in this game. I think he had 5 catches. He had some of the big chunk plays that Mac Jones threw to him. I know one really good ball across the middle he made a good catch on. And then he had a touchdown, the only one that Mac Jones threw to him. So Nelson Aguilar hopefully can have a really good season, and he had a really good Patriots debut come this past Sunday in his in terms of what he was able to do out there. So I'm going to go to Nelson Aguilar for the offensive player.
Nelson Aguilar is not a bad pick. I mean, he actually had a good first game too. I mean, Kendrick Bourne did as well. And I thought that Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, there were factors in the second half, but they were not really big factors in the first half. But I could see where you're going with why you went with Nelson Aguilar. So my defensive player of the game for the Patriots in Week 1 against the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to choose the guy that made the big interception, and that was Jonathan Jones. That interception right there made me not pick him as the defensive player of the game for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think and Evan Lazar from CLNS Media, if you've never followed this stuff, Laura, I definitely recommend. He's a Patriot beat reporter. He had something interesting in terms of without Stephon Gilmore before, the Patriots are going to be without him for the first 5-6 weeks. You might unfortunately have to see a lot of the bend or break type of defense that we've been accustomed to in the past, because the thing about Gilmore is you can play man-to-man coverage. Without Gilmore, you don't want to obviously give up the big chunk plays. So you saw a lot, with the Miami Dolphins, what they were really good with, where they were able to basically make a lot of short throws because the Patriots basically gave them that. And I think that for the first 4 or 5, weeks of the season, you might unfortunately see like a lot of the stuff that's open for a lot of these opposing teams. And you're basically saying to yourself, well, why do they keep on playing off man, stuff like that. I think, as time went on to win the game, their pass shows definitely got a lot better. I thought it could have been a little bit more stronger. But I think that my defensive player that I have to say was Josh Uche. Josh Uche made a big key play when the Dolphins could have got the touchdown, at the end of the first half, but he made a key sack that he overrode the left tackle, Landon. I forgot his last name from the Dolphins. Absolutely.
Are you talking about a Landon Roberts?
No. His first name's Landon. I forgot his last name. He's a left tackle for the Dolphins. And he absolutely just destroyed him and got Tua Tagovailoa down, I believe, for a sack. So that was obviously a key play in the game. So I'm going to give the defensive player of the game to Josh Uche. I think Josh Uche is going to be a breakout star, and you obviously saw that big play kind of what he can kind of bring to your team for the rest of the year. So give me Josh Uche for your defensive player of the game for Sunday.
And for special teams, I have 3 guys in mind for my special teams players of the game for Week 1 against the Dolphins. I'm picking Jake Bailey had a great game, and then Nick Folk, who I didn't think was going to be our kicker. He made some clutch kicks when needed, and Gunnar Olszewski had a great day too.
Yeah, I mean the special teams, I think for the most part, they obviously played a role. I thought Bailey could have had a couple better punts, to be honest, in this game. I thought he was okay, not great. Folk made some key kicks, but obviously they were not terribly deep. He made some key timely ones to kind of keep the Patriots in reach. And then the punt return game, I thought didn't do a whole lot. But the thing about Gunnar in the past is his fumble problems, and he's able to hold on to the football this game, especially when the Patriots had a lot of fumbles. That could have been lost outside the Damon Harris key one at the end. So I got to give credit to where credit's due with Gunnar, and he was able to hold on to the football for a lot of the game and get the Patriots, drive by drive. In terms of key field position when he's been able to have the football in special teams.
And is Gunnar your special teams player of the game for the Patriots?
I'd probably say Nick Folk in this one. I think Nick Folk kind of, out of all the special teamers, played the biggest factor.
He sure did. I mean, the Patriots don't have a long-term kicker. I think he's a good bridge gap guy, and I think he loves – I think with Gostowski gone, I think Nick Folk has done a good job being part of this Patriots transition, and we'll go from there. So let's take a look at our stat leaders for this game. So Nelson Aguilar had 5 receptions, 72 yards, receiving with 1 touchdown reception. Damian Harris with 23 attempts with 100 rushing yards. Mac Jones with 29 out of 39 incompletions, 281 yards passing with 1 touchdown pass. And James White with 10 touches and 61 yards. And Nelson Aguilar gave fantasy owners 18.2 points. Damian Harris gave fantasy owners 15.7 points. Mac Jones got 15.24 fantasy points for those who play fantasy football. And James White with 12.1 points as well. And those are your Patriots Week 1 stats presented by DraftKings. So what could the Patriots do better? So we'll talk about that in just a minute. So what are your biggest takeaways in Week 1 besides the Patriots-Dolphins game? So did you think that last night's Monday night game between the Ravens and Raiders, wasn't that a great way to end Week 1? You got that game into overtime, and the Raiders won in overtime fashion, and the people in Las Vegas were celebrating on the streets of Vegas last night.
Yeah, I mean, the start of Week 1 obviously opened up with a great Thursday night game between the Bucs and Cowboys, and it finished off Week 1 with a great Monday night game between the Raiders and the Ravens. I thought this Monday night game would come down the wire. I really thought it might have been the best game out of the whole entire Week 1, I got to say. I was able to watch a lot of the key plays down the stretch. I thought Derek Carr made some big key throws, especially when they were down in the game twice. Actually, the one time he threw to Henry Ruggs on the deep post, and Josh Jacobs got the touchdown. And then Latavius Murray on the following possession, I believe, got the touchdown run for the Ravens. Then about 40 seconds left, the Raiders had a chance to go down, kick the game-time field goal by Daniel Carlson. He made a big-time kick, I think like a 50-yarder, tied the game, forced it to overtime. Then the Raiders got the ball back, and it looked like Bryan Edwards had the game-winning touchdown. Looked like he had the football over the line. The referees called it that he was short, and then the Raiders, for some odd reason, decide to throw the football. They had also a key false start on one of their offensive linemen, brought the ball back on a 1st and goal on the 6, and Derek Carr threw an interception where it bounced off a helmet, I believe, from the Ravens. They picked it off, so you're thinking to yourself, oh, it looks like the Ravens are going to go down, score just a field goal from Justin Tucker and win. The Ravens from Lamar Jackson, I thought the Raiders' defense, Loro, really came out to play. Even though they gave up a bunch of points, they really came out to play in this game. And you got to be really, if you're a Raiders fan out there after the first week, be pretty happy in terms of the way that your defense was able to play, especially with your pass rush. And Carl Nassib, I believe, which he made a key play in overtime. He was obviously the guy that opened to being admittedly gay, the first gay NFL player, I think, to be open to it. And he was able to make a key play in this game. And Jackson fumbled the football. The Raiders got the ball back, and Carr made a game-winning touchdown pass to Zay Jones, where the Ravens were trying to blitz, and there was really no post safety in the back, and Carr made a great play down the field, and Jones made a great catch for the game-winning touchdown. So it was just one of those wild type of games, and I thought that was one of the best highlighted games so far this season, and it's only the first week, so we should be having a really fun year the rest of the way.
Absolutely. So let's break down our division standings through Week 1. So let's start obviously in our division, the AFC East. So basically, the AFC East only has one win so far, and they're actually 1-4 to begin the season. That's not a good start, but the Dolphins are 1-0 in first place. In second place, the New England Patriots. The third place team is the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Jets are in last place. So let's talk about the Buffalo Bills first. So the Bills lost to the Steelers on Week 1 is there a reason to panic on the Bills? Do you think that the Bills will still be the team to beat in that division despite a tough loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I do. I mean, I think that Josh Allen his year might be a little bit more in the down decline. I'm not saying that he's going to be really, really bad, though. I think that just his stats last year were just so good. It's going to be really hard to top it, I feel like. A lot of people are saying he could be the MVP this year, and I wouldn't be surprised about it. But I really have to see more out of Josh Allen, especially in big-time playoff games. If they basically show to me that they can go to the Super Bowl this year with a really good underrated coach in Sean McDermott, then I could really see it. But I really had to see and make that even next step. He was able to make that first big jump that really surprised me and started to say, okay, maybe there's something with Josh Allen that I didn't see before. But now there's really something to Josh Allen if you can really go into a place like Arrowhead, like he wasn't able to last year, and be able to make a big upset time victory, or in like Baltimore or whatever. So to really say, okay, this guy is just more than the real deal. There's no reason to panic though with the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are going to be a very good team. They got a really underrated defense. Like I said on Sunday, Loro, I think that the Steelers were a really good match for them because they played them really hard last year. And I just think that the Bills and in the division, really, they are just getting better as a team. Stephon Diggs at receiver. They got a bunch of really good skilled players there. So there's really no reason to panic. I still think that they're going to be the team beating the division. And, like we said, overreaction Sunday, with the teams that really struggled to win on Sunday, the Buffalo Bills are one key example of a team that you shouldn't be overreacting to in terms of one loss.
Yeah, you shouldn't overreact to the Bills. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are a team that you can't really underestimate, especially with Josh Allen. A lot of people have picked him to be the MVP. So we'll talk about one thing we learned according to the CBS Sports Instagram page in just a minute here. So let's talk about the New York Jets. Obviously, Sam Darnold did get revenge on the Jets, but Zach Wilson, he kind of had a slow start to the first half, but in the second half, we'll talk about Patriots Jets and see what we like about Zach Wilson in just a minute here. He had a good second half going, but the Jets lost one of their key left tackles, which is not good for them, and that is Mekhi Becton, who's going to be out for a while. But Zach Wilson is going to be running for his life. But I think the Jets' offensive line isn't that bad.
Yeah, I think that the Jets' offensive line had a lot of problems in the first half. They're going to have a lot of spurts this season where they're going to have really, really struggle with their offensive line. But you got to be, if you're a Jet fan out there, pretty satisfied with the way that the Jets in that second half played. Corey Davis had a really big game. He's supposed to be their main guy at receiver who they brought from the Titans. He had a really good game. They have some guys, Elijah Moore, who they drafted, who I think is going to be a really big factor at receiver. In the running game, they still should be okay. But I really think that the Jets, Zach Wilson, number 2 overall from BYU, he definitely has what it takes to be a really good player, quarterback, especially in this league. And despite the loss that he had on Sunday, I think that he's going to be a really good, similar to like Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, 3 guys that are really top, quarterbacks in the draft, and they all lost. You shouldn't really say, oh, they're going to be all bust, right away from playing the first game in the NFL. It's going to take a while. And I think that a guy like Zach Wilson, a guy like Mac Jones, a guy like Trevor Lawrence, they're obviously going to go through a bunch of growing pains. I think out of all 3 of them, Mac Jones probably looked the most ready. But I really think that, taking my bias out, but I think that Zach Wilson is going to be a very good quarterback for the Jets.
He will.
He's
Absolutely.
He's going to be a very, very tough test come Sunday. Even though, Mekhi Becton's going to be out, and that's a big loss for them. I think that the Patriots are going to have a hard time, side-to-side defense on him. They're going to make him try to throw on the run, and that's something that he's actually really, really good at. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be definitely an interesting test.
We're going to talk about more in depth in that in just a minute, but I want to tell you that I really think that I'm excited to see Coach Saleh on the other sideline because Bill Belichick and Robert Saleh are defensive-minded head coach. They think alike, and they have like, if you know what I mean, like Bill Belichick calls defensive plays for the Patriots, and I would assume that Robert Saleh will call defensive plays for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, they're both defensive-minded type of coaches. Salad's a very big motivator type of coach that was with the 49ers for a while. Uh, Belichick, of course, is one of the best defensive-minded coach of all time. So it should be a really fun matchup, not only in the quarterbacks, but in the coaching staff. I feel like Saleh and Belichick have both coached against each other in the past before, and they just always seem to have a really good matchup there. So it should be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But talk about the Panthers beating the Jets. But did you think that Sam Darnold looked a lot better, and you think that he's going to thrive in Carolina?
I do. I think that Sam Darnold, this is kind of where, people, and he himself has even admitted that he felt like he could have done a lot more with the Jets. But I think that Carolina's a great fit for him. Matt Rule and Joe Brady had really good connection between them and Sam Darnold already. And Robbie Anderson, who's a former Jet at receiver, I think is going to pay a lot of big dividends too. They have some guys that can play tight end. They have DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. There's some key guys and players that can just play their role. I think Sam Darnold is really going to thrive in that type of offense. And I think that Sunday was a really good example in terms of him just playing consistent ball, not turn the ball over. And if his offensive line can hold him, that's a big thing about Darnold. If he gets a lot of pressure on him and gets out of the pocket, that's where he kind of starts to slide a little bit. But so far, he's done really, really well with being able to, just get his confidence going, and just his connection with the coaching staff's been key so far.
It has been. He's been getting along with Matt Rule and Joe Brady, and we'll talk about the Panthers and where they are in just a minute here. So let's go to the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in first place. They're 1-0. And overreaction Sunday, as we talked about, the Cincinnati Bengals were off to a great start, 1-0 as well. Joe Burrow had a great first game back. He has his buddy Jamar Chase with him now. I think the Bengals offense is going to be fantastic this season, but their defense still remains a concern. But I just thought that with that win over the Vikings, it tells me that the Bengals could really shock a lot of people this year. But they have the Bears coming up. But I kind of think the Bengals should deserve to go 2-0 because the Bears aren't that good. And then the Cleveland Browns, their week one woes continue. They have not found a way to win a week one game, but I do think that the Cleveland Browns will bounce back against the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they're probably going to go 0-2 just because they're going to play Mahomes. Lamar Jackson never plays well against Mahomes, but don't panic on the Ravens.
Yeah, so the first thing that you talked about that you mentioned was for the Browns. Who did you mention again?
The Cleveland Browns playing the Houston Texans.
Yeah, but you said a team before the Browns in the division.
Steelers? The
Bengals, that's right, yeah. I think that the Bengals had a really big win on Sunday. The thing about the Bengals, though, Loro, is they just got to be consistent, and I just know if they can be consistent. They should be a really fun team if they can stay healthy. Burrow could stay upright. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, two really stars that could really shine in that team, and then mix it. The biggest thing about the Bengals is their consistency. They play in a very tough division, and then their coaching staff I still have questions with. But that was a big win for them. What a throw that Burrow had to Jamar Chase for the game. One of their touchdowns on the stretch in that one. So he has a very good idea in terms of where he wants to throw the football with a lot of confidence for a young guy, which is very, very impressive. And then the Browns, of course, the week one woes continue, but to be fair, that they just played one of the best teams in football in the Kansas City Chiefs. They played a very, very tough game against them. They had to lead for quite a bit of that game. So if you're a Brown fan out there, yes, you lost the game, but there's a lot of good things to take out of that game. They're a really good team, and they should be really, really good this year. They were just in the wild card game, the division game with them last year. Kevin Stefanski is an excellent coach. They got really good running game. Baker should be really, really good this year. So I wouldn't really fret too much, out there for the Browns. They should be able, like you said, week two, they face the Texans. They should be able to win that game. And then the Ravens themselves, they just had a loss last night to the Raiders, but they played a really, really good game. Lamar Jackson looked extremely explosive. Their running game outside of the guys that they lost, Dobbins, Justice Hill, Murray looked really, really good. And I think that Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins, week one Sammy, as they say, because it seems like he always plays well early on in seasons, then kind of disappears, throughout the season. But he has to be relied on a lot, and he made some big-time plays yesterday. Mark Andrews, I wish could have done a little bit more, but he's a really, really good tight end. So the Raiders and Chiefs are going to have a really good game. Mahomes Jackson always seems to be, really, really fun, especially on a Sunday night, grab your popcorn or whatever, because that's always, a fun one to see. Especially with a lot of the primetime games already being amazing too. So, obviously you got to expect something that's going to be good too for that one. So, a lot of these AFC North type of teams, they're going to be, really, really competitive. And I think that, a lot of these teams that had tough losses in the week one should have some really good bounce back games in week two.
Absolutely. I think by week two, I think we could see a lot of ties for first place in that division. So let's go to the AFC South. So basically, like the AFC East, they're 1-4, but the NFC North right now is off to a winless start. So the Houston Texans, who everybody picked as the worst team in the NFL, they beat the Jags, and then the Colts lost to the Seahawks, and Tennessee is in last. So it's overreaction Sunday, as we talked about, but I do think that the Colts and the Titans will overcome their 0-1 holes and be the teams to be reckoned with in the AFC South. I think Trevor Lawrence, he had an okay game. It wasn't his best game, but it was just a learning curve for him. But I do think that Trevor Lawrence is going to bounce back in week two against the Denver Broncos. But the Jaguars defense still has a lot of questions. And then the Texans. I mean, what could you say? Tyrod Taylor played great. I mean, Donnie Amendola got a touchdown, and Brandon Cooks too. So a couple of former Patriots we know on the Houston Texans. And I was also told that Nick Caserio is going to fix that Texans roster, even though that this organization is toxic.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really surprising type of team in week one. I got to admit, the Texans are a team that I'm not expecting to have high hopes and expectations with, but they had a good win in week one against the Jaguars, really pulled away. They used some new guys for the team, Danny Amendola, Phillip Lindsay, Tyrod Taylor, of course, and their new quarterback, and he played pretty well too. So the Texans, really made a early statement, like you said, it's overreaction Sunday, but that was obviously a good one for their team. Trevor Lawrence, of course, had a really tough one. Like we said before, Mac Jones, Lawrence, and Wilson all lost, but they're going to have some learning curves. Mac Jones probably looked the best out of all three, but Lawrence is the number one overall pick for a reason. He's going to be fine. I'm not too worried about him. I think that week two he'll get even better, maybe win their game in week two. I don't know who they play, but I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars should still be okay with Trevor Lawrence at the helm. And then the Titans, I think the Titans are going to be fine. They still have one of the best offenses in football. I look at it. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is very underrated. They have Derrick Henry, of course, the top running back in football. Julio Jones is just getting acclimated to their team. And then you have A.J. Brown, who was just beasting in week one like normal, and he's going to be good all season. So I think the biggest thing about the Titans was their defense. I thought their defense was very shaky against the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to be really good offense if they can stay healthy. I mean, that's a really fun offense if you look at it. We could talk about that a little bit. But I think a lot of these AFC South teams, and then the Colts, who just lost to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are going to be kind of similar to the Arizona Cardinals, that they can stay healthy, that their offense is going to be pretty explosive, headlined by Wilson. So I think that a lot of these teams that lost in the AFC South in week one, I don't know their matchups in week two, but a lot of these teams, I think, are going to bounce back. Like I said, it's going to be a long season. So, despite the losses in week one, they should be able to be fine, the rest of the way.
Absolutely. Now to the AFC West. A lot of teams won in week one in the AFC West, like the Las Vegas Raiders, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, and the LA Chargers. So that's a very, very good division. And that division has not lost a game yet. But I do think the Chiefs are the better team in that division still. The Raiders are showing some promise. And I think the Chargers, they're going to break out. I really think that this team's going to be so much better. And I think Brandon Staley's a great fit for this Chargers team. Then Anthony Lynn, he's an upgrade as a head coach. Then Anthony Lynn. And then for the Broncos, I just think that Denver, I just think maybe Teddy Bridgewater could be their long-term guy.
Yeah, so the AFC West, I look at it, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I mean, they came back from like a 10, 12-point deficit against Cleveland. Patrick Mahomes is going to be one of the best quarterbacks, again, not only for the future, but just in football currently now. Kelsey Hill, they're going to be very, very explosive. They're going to be one of the best teams in football without a doubt. So obviously you look at them. Then you have the Chargers who squeaked out a win against the Washington football team. Justin Herbert, I thought, threw the ball decently. Eckler had a pretty good game. I think they're going to be kind of an up and down type of team if I look at the Chargers. Still don't trust their defense fully, but they had a really good win week one. The Raiders were able to win their game against the Baltimore Ravens. I think that the Raiders defense, if they're able to pull up what they did yesterday, there could be some signs to come to the rest of the way, but I need to see it more consistently. Derek Carr in that offense, Darren Waller, they have a really fun offense if they can stay all healthy. And then you look at the Broncos, who were able to go against the Giants, which we talked about on our other show. I really like that that defense from the Broncos. If they can stay healthy, Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. They also had in their secondary Kyle Fuller from the Bears too. So there's a lot of teams in the AFC West I think that could make some things happen. But the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, are the team to beat.
Yes, Kansas City is right now the team to beat in that division right now. That's for sure. So let's go to the NFC East. As you know, it's probably going to be the worst division in football. The Eagles are in first place. A lot of people are – I kind of said that the Eagles are going to be better than what people think they are. And the Cowboys, I think they'll start off 0-2, but I think the Cowboys are gonna find a way to win bowl games in weeks 3 and onward. I just think that their first 2 games of the season is going to be a challenge because they just faced Tom Brady and the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers, and they're going to play the Chargers. And I think the LA Chargers, I beg your pardon, will beat the Cowboys. The Washington football team just lost Ryan Fitzpatrick to a hip injury, but I think Taylor Heineke can get it done. But I think it's going to be in the run game, the receiving core, and the defense for the Washington football team to get this done. And then the New York Giants. They're 0-1, but their offensive line remains an issue.
Yeah, so going through the NFC East, or people could say the NFC least, because of the way that turned out to be last year. But in all seriousness and all jokes aside, you look at the Giants first. They have a lot of offensive line problems. It's going to be really hard to overcome, throughout the rest of the season because they've had that for many years already. They got pretty exploited in their first game against really good defensive lines. So against really good defensive lines, they're going to really struggle, I think. And then the Washington football team, they, of course, had a tough loss against the Chargers, but they're going to be a really good defense for sure. I really like, Ryan Fitzpatrick, of course, going down is going to hurt them, but I think their defense will still be okay. Headlined by Jonathan Allen and Chase Young. And then the Eagles really put a really good steam and win. Jalen Hurts had a very good game. He used Miles Sanders a lot. Devontae Smith had a very good debut. And then, their defense were able to only hold the Falcons to, I believe, only 6 points on Sunday. So the Eagles, I don't know how much I can trust them through consistently, but they were able to have a really good win. And then the Cowboys were really close head-to-head with the GOAT. Prescott looked really, really good coming back, especially from that injury that he had last year, that gruesome one. Cooper, CeeDee Lamb looked really, really good with the receiving core. And then their defense were able to give the Bucs a run for their money until the end of the game. So I think that the NFC East, for the most part, has some good games. I'll be curious to see how the Thursday night football game goes this week between the Giants and the Washington football team. We'll see how the Washington football team will do without the Ryan Fitzpatrick, error, I guess you can say, over in Washington.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be out for a while, but I think Taylor Heineke could really take advantage of his opportunities, which we'll see probably on Thursday. So on to the NFC North. Lots of losers in this division, but I still think the Green Bay Packers are the team to beat. I think the Chicago Bears, they need a quarterback change right away. Matt Nagy has not handled this very, very well. The Detroit Lions, they're a fun rebuilding team with Coach Campbell, and I think that they're going to be pretty much fun to watch over time. And, of course, the Minnesota Vikings, I don't really trust Kirk Cousins after all.
Yeah, so you look at that division. You look at first the Lions. I think the Lions are going to kind of be the doormat, like for a while. Dan Campbell, of course, is a fine for them at head coach, but they're going to be in a really tough division where I don't think that they're going to be having high expectations there. The Packers, of course, are probably the most disappointing team in week one. Aaron Rodgers looked extremely bad, probably the worst that I've seen personally in his career. Of course, people are saying, with the offseason drama and everything like that, did it affect him? I just think that he just really just did not play with a lot of confidence in this game. I think he'll be fine, though. I think that Rodgers, of course, is one of the best quarterbacks in football. He'll obviously, like we said on Sunday, I think Rodgers will kind of, blow this game off and we'll kind of look back and kind of laugh at that one. But, man, that was a really, really bad one from the Packers in week one. And then the Vikings, of course, had a really tough game against the Bengals. And so there are some teams out there. And then the Bears. I think the Bears, of course, are going to have problems with their quarterback situation. If they keep on starting Andy Dalton, I think that they really have to kind of see what they have in the future with Justin Fields, because you look at the other quarterbacks that are out there, Mac Jones, obviously Cam Newton moved on. They turned the keys to Mac. You look at the Jaguars, of course, with the number one overall pick. You have Trevor Lawrence, and then you have Zach Wilson with the Jets. I think you really have to kind of start thinking about Andy Dalton, turn the keys over to Justin Fields, and start early on. And kind of give them a chance. I thought that the Bears defense really struggled, which I think I was a little bit surprised about. So I think the Bears defense should be okay this year. But I think a lot of teams in that division kind of had some slow week one starts. So we'll see if they can turn their season around come week two and see what kind of adjustments that they can do and make.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't really have high expectations for the Bears when they take on the Cincinnati Bengals, that's for sure. So anyways, let's go to the NFC South. So three teams are 1-0. The New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people are thinking, oh, this is going to be a runaway division. But I kind of think that the Panthers and the Saints and the Buccaneers, they could make this a three-team race. But I just think Tampa Bay right now is the better team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you look at that division, the Buccaneers are going to be probably the best team. Not only in that division, but probably in the NFC as a whole. The GOAT, I think that he's coming in with a lot of high confidence. Of course, with a lot of returners back, Godwin, Gronkowski, Scotty Miller, you name it. Their defense, I think, will still be good. I still have some questions about their secondary a little bit. Murphy Bunting went down in week one. He's a big piece of their defense. But I think that they're going to be just fine. Bruce Arians, of course, Super Bowl champs. So, of course, I picked them probably as number one for that division. They had a really big win week one against the Cowboys. And then the Saints, of course, had a really good statement win against the Packers. Jameis Winston put up 5 touchdowns. I don't know if he can do that consistently, but that was a really good showing by them. And then you look at the Carolina Panthers and what they were able to do against the New York Jets. Sam Darnold was able to get revenge on his former team. And then the Atlanta Falcons, of course, kind of laid an egg against the Philadelphia Eagles. I really think that Matt Ryan and just the whole entire offense themselves really did not have a lot going for them. And then their defense really struggled. And their defense could be struggling for a lot of the season. So that's kind of the way I look with that division.
Absolutely. I would probably see that. I think that the Falcons, when you talk about them playing against Tampa Bay, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to destroy them. Oh, my God. It's probably going to be over by halftime.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think that the Bucs are still going to, the Falcons will give the Bucs run for their money, but I think the Bucs will be able to pull it out at the end.
Yeah, are you just saying that you're saying that it's not going to be like a blowout at halftime, like when Brady's going to put up a lot of points offensively, because you think that Atlanta's offense will still keep this an interesting ball game?
Yeah, I think they'll give them an interesting ball game, but I just think that it's hard for week by week. It's a grind type of season, so I think that Brady, his stats might be a little more down compared to his week one stats. Week one stats, he had 2 interceptions, but in reality, the first interception was right off Fournette's hands, which was a screen pass, and it just deflected off him. Fournette should have caught that. And then the second one was basically just a heave in the end zone right before half, and the guy just made a play. He actually almost returned for a touchdown, which I was surprised about. But he threw 4 touchdowns on the game. He made some just Tom Brady throws that I've been accustomed to for the last 20 years, so I'm not too worried.
Absolutely. I'll be watching the Buccaneers and Falcons game after the Patriots game is done. against the Jets. So I'll be watching that one for sure. I'll be talking about that on Sunday with the Extra Point team. So let's go to the NFC West. It is a good division. We'll have to talk about Isaiah's team on there. The 49ers are 1-0. I think you know what they could do when they're all healthy. The LA Rams, I'll tell you what, Matthew Stafford gives them the best chance to win a Super Bowl with the LA Rams. The Arizona Cardinals, I was kind of surprised that they beat the Tennessee Titans, but Kyler Murray, I think the Titans are in for I think the Cardinals, in my opinion, sorry, I said Titans, but the Cardinals, I think they're going to be better than they were last year because down the stretch they did not play well. But I think that offensively and defensively, I think they're going to have the tools to make a playoff run. And the Seattle Seahawks, don't underestimate Russell Wilson.
Yeah, so that division is going to be a lot of fun. I think the NFC West, as Isaiah's team, the 49ers, they were up by like 20-plus points against the Lions. They almost blew it, but at the end of the day, a win's a win, especially in your first game of the season. Of course, you have a lot of adjustments you have to do, regardless if you win or lose in the first week. So they got a big one. The Seahawks had a really good first week. Went to Indianapolis, a really tough place to play. Russell Wilson had a really good game. 3 or 4 touchdowns in the game, 2 to Lockett, 1 to Gerald Everett, their new tight end. So he had a really good showing. Kind of similar to kind of with the way that he started last year with a really hot first couple weeks. And then the Rams, Matthew Stafford, they had a really good showing against the Chicago Bears. Matthew Stafford in his debut had a couple touchdowns. He had one to Woods, a really nice one to Von Jefferson. And then I think he had another one too to Cooper Kupp. I didn't remember about that one, but Matthew Stafford and that team. I think that if he stays healthy, that Rams team, offensively and defensively, they're going to be a lot of fun, headlined by Coach Sean McVay. And then the Cardinals. The Cardinals had a really good win going to Tennessee. A team that's going to be pretty good this year, I think. And Kyler Murray had a really good day through the air, on the ground. He had a rushing touchdown. He had 3 or 4 passing touchdowns. 2 to DeAndre Hopkins, and then 2 to Christian Kirk, and then I don't know if he had another one, but he had a really good day through the air and on the ground. He's going to be a lot of fun this year if he stays healthy. And the defense too. Chandler Jones was probably my defensive player of everybody of the weekend. Having 4 or 5 sacks in the day. He had a strip sack that resulted in a fumble recovery for a touchdown, I think by Corey Peters on defense for the Cardinals. So that division, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. If all the quarterbacks can stay healthy, if the defenses can make some plays, that probably could be the best division potentially in football.
Absolutely. So let's talk about one thing we learned about each team in the 2021 season. Tell me if that's true or false. So Kyler Murray is still a problem for opponents. Is that true or false?
True. Kyler Murray, I think, is a quarterback that is extremely quick. I think that, you can't underestimate in terms of what he can throw through the air and on the ground. I had a lot of worries about him when it came to Gillette last year, just be able to just run all over the place. I mean, he made some plays against the Titans. And the Titans have a decent defense, not great, but he made some plays where he just made the defense look silly. But his arm is just incredible. So he, of course, I think is the real deal. I need to see it in the playoffs if their team can make it there. But just for like fantasy purposes and just to see him play, he's a real deal. He for sure is a problem.
Absolutely, he is. So the Atlanta Falcons offense is lifeless. True or false? I'm going to say on this one, I'm going to say it's false because Atlanta has a good offense. And I also want to say it's true that Kyler Murray is still a problem for opponents, which he absolutely is. So, Ben, the floor is yours. Do you think the Atlanta Falcons offense is lifeless? True or false?
I mean, you could say that week 1, but you could say that for a lot of teams that look lifeless, that could have some potential. I'm going to go false in this one. You brought in Kyle Pitts, one of the most dynamic tight ends from college, to your team. He'll make a big difference. You have Calvin Ridley. I think that Matt Ryan will have, of course, that offense will have its problems, but I think that it's not going to be like the week 1 performance that they had every day.
Absolutely not. I mean, I think that Atlanta is going to get better offensively, and I just think that only one game, for what I saw, it did not look good for the Atlanta Falcons. That's for sure. So Also, true or false here for the Baltimore Ravens. Concerns about the offense are warranted. I'm going to say false. There's no reason to be concerned about the Ravens offense right now. What about you, Ben? True or false on the Ravens' concerns about their offense are warranted?
I'm not concerned about the Ravens offense at all. They're going to be extremely dangerous. If you have Lamar Jackson staying healthy, you got a really good tight end, Mark Andrews. You got some receivers around him. I'm not too worried about it. That should be fun.
And then also the Buffalo Bills are candidates for regression. I'm going to say that's completely false. I think Josh Allen had a rough game to begin the season, but I am confident, and I do think that Josh Allen's going to put up MVP numbers as the season progresses. What about you, Ben? Are the Bills candidates for regression, true or false?
I'm actually going to go true. I think that they're going to regress, but I think they're going to be good enough, and they'll still be a really good team. I just don't think they're going to be as good as what they were last year.
Absolutely not. I think the Bills, there's no need to panic about them. They could start off 0-2 and then overcome it. That's what I could see, but that's definitely something that could happen right here. So the Carolina Panthers think that Sam Darnold is probably an upgrade at quarterback. I'm going to say true. From what I saw against his old team, he had it in him. And I do expect Sam Darnold to put up big numbers for the Panthers. And the Panthers, I think the Panthers are going to run the ball a lot, and I think that he's going to get all his teammates involved. And I think Carolina's offense is going to be fun under Matt Rule and Joe Brady. So I'm going to say that it is true that Sam Darnold is an upgrade at QB for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I think it's just a good match, coach to quarterback. I think that's what Darnold needed. He really had that good in USC. So obviously, I'm going to say yes. I think that it is an upgrade for them because they have the right match with the coaching staff.
And then also for the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields deserves to start at quarterback. I'm going to say 100% true. Absolutely. Because I just think that Andy Dalton is not a good starter right now, and I think Nick Foles is a better backup than Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's more of a third stringer. Ben, do you think that it is true that Justin Fields deserves to start at quarterback for the Bears?
Without a doubt. I mean, the Bears, their only hope is to try to go with the young guy. I think that Andy Dalton is a backup at best now, a serviceable quarterback if you have injury problems. But you got to give the kid a chance. I think, you look at a lot of these other teams, they're giving the guys a chance. I mean, Justin Fields had a touchdown last game, and he played very minimally. I think that the Bears, the fans really want him, and I think that the more that you play him and give him a chance, he'll just get better and better. So, yes, of course.
He will get better and better. I think he's going to get more playing time against the Bengals. That's for sure. So, the Cincinnati Bengals, this is true or false here. Joe Burrow hasn't lost a step. True or false? I'm going to say he has not. I just think that Joe Burrow is ready to have a breakout season, and if he were fully healthy last year, he would have won Rookie of the Year, or he could have finished second behind Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I don't think he's really lost a step. I think just his mindset is if he'll stay healthy, his offensive line has to keep him upright, and I just think that he has the tools in the making to be a really promising quarterback with all the weapons that he has around him.
And then for the Cleveland Browns, true or false? 2020 was not a fluke. I'm going to say that's actually I'm going to say true because I think the Browns are really taking strides to being a Super Bowl contending team, and they thought that and also last year wasn't even a fluke for them. I think Cleveland is poised for an even deep playoff run, and they'll continue to get better and better as the season goes on. With OBJ healthy, and then you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, and you got a great defense, Cleveland is definitely going to be making a lot of noise this season.
Yeah, I'm going to go yes and no, honestly, because no. I'm going to say no first because I think a lot of people would expect them to have the season that they had last year. But after what you saw what they had last year and kind of what a lot of the teams kind of saw in them and just surprised a bunch of people, the fact that they were able to play basically really good head-to-head and division game against the Kansas City Chiefs, who just made it to the Super Bowl for the last 3 years, I believe, in the right there. But they're going to be fine. And I think that they're going to have they got a really good coach. They got a really good running game. So I think the Browns are for sure the real deal, and they didn't have a fluke last year.
They did not have a fluke last year, absolutely. So let's talk about the next thing is Dallas for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is ready to go. From what I saw last week, he was ready to go. And I think that throughout the season, since he's back, I think that he is going to put up some MVP type numbers. Do you think Dak Prescott's ready to go? True or false?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the game that he put on Thursday, I thought he was going to be really good, but he put up some really like video game number type with that team. You have a guy like Amari Cooper. You just have a bunch of guys that are just extremely versatile. Even though tight ends Blake Jarwin, he made a couple catches. And then you have Zeke in the backfield. Dak Prescott, if he could stay healthy, I don't know if he's going to have MVP type of numbers, but he's going to have extremely good numbers just because all the guys that he has. Michael Gallup, I know, is going to be missing a couple of games, but he had a really good game in week 1. But they have a lot of guys that he can throw the ball to, so he's going to be fine if he can stay healthy.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what the Cowboys need. If the Cowboys were to win this division, the health and the shoulders rely on Dak Prescott. So, on to the Denver Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater is the clear QB1. I'm going to go out on a limb on this. I don't think the Denver Broncos are going to get Aaron Rodgers. I think Teddy Bridgewater is the clear QB1 in Denver. I feel like that so far from what you saw, I think he really showed it, and I am waiting to see Teddy Bridgewater get an opportunity to be a franchise quarterback for a team that really needs a quarterback. And I think that Teddy Bridgewater came in to work training camp, beat out Drew Lock, and I do think Teddy Bridgewater gives the Denver Broncos the best chance to win football games. And I felt like that Minnesota did not handle him correctly. He was bounced around on so many teams, but I feel like that Denver is the place for Teddy Bridgewater to be their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think that if the Broncos want to have Teddy for multiple years, they can. But I would entertain Rodgers. I really would, because you got a really good division in that one. You put a guy like Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in football, with Patrick Mahomes in that division, and you have the guys at receiver, and Fant, Judy, Hamler, get a running game, and then you have that defense. I think you can kind of go both ways. Vic Fangio, of course, has his job, of course, on the line. You go out next year, potentially, even Rodgers admitted in the offseason that maybe the Broncos had some interest in him. You have a chance to go out and maybe get a guy like Rodgers for this next year. I would go to try to pull the trigger, but if not, Bridgewater should be a very good quarterback in terms of for your future and, win you some ball games. I just don't know in terms of if it can. Even Rodgers, don't know if can outdo Mahomes for a division, but I think that Rodgers for sure has a much better chance to than a guy like Bridgewater. But Bridgewater is a very good quarterback.
We could save that topic for another day, but I kind of think, here's what I think. If Aaron Rodgers gets released by the Packers next offseason, and if he does sign with the Denver Broncos, I kind of think that the Broncos and Chiefs will go toe-to-toe in the AFC West, but I still think the Chiefs are the better team in that division.
Yeah, they are. They would be. But I think it would be a really good for two matchups, back-to-back. That would be fun.
Yeah, maybe one of those games should be a week 1 game between Mahomes versus Rodgers, and then maybe and then Herbert versus Carr. That could definitely happen, but I'm kind of thinking that what if Rodgers joins the Denver Broncos, which could be likely, but we'll have to see. So, anyways, the Detroit Lions, they will not be pushovers. I'm going to say I'm 50-50 on that because Dan Campbell is a great coach. I think he's going to make you play hard no matter what the record is. And I think that I'm kind of 50-50 on that. So, Ben, true or false? The Detroit Lions will not be pushovers.
I think that they're going to be a pushover type of team this year. I think they're rebuilding. So, I just feel like that they just have a lot of holes in their team. So I'd probably go with that they are a pushover type of team. That you could be able to go and just beat them single-handedly.
All right, so let's talk about this. Aaron Rodgers is suddenly a cause for concern for the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to say right here, it's false. I think Aaron Rodgers, to me, a lot of people are like, oh, he's leaving Green Bay after the season. It's too early to speculate. I do feel like that Aaron Rodgers is going to remain a Green Bay Packer for life. And I say that because he's loyal there, and I know that he said that he does have a good relationship with his teammates. But I just think, but a lot of people are like, oh, he's going to go to the Denver Broncos. And I'm like, if he goes to the Denver Broncos, you're going to see a lot of Mahomes versus Rodgers showdown in Denver. But I just think his heart is in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think Rodgers. I think it's a make or break type of season this year for him because if he doesn't perform to what his expectations are, he could be on the move because maybe it is a distraction. But I think it's a big overreaction right now. I know he had a really bad week one, but he's of course a great quarterback, and he gives, of course, them the best chance to win ball games right now.
Absolutely. So, anyways, let's go on to the next thing. So, for the Houston Texans, true or false? They might not be the worst team in the NFL. I'm going to say false on this one, just because I think that the Houston Texans are still going to be the worst team in the NFL. There's a lot of question marks surrounding Deshaun Watson right now. Tyrod Taylor will keep you in the ball game, but maybe Tyrod Taylor might not make sure that might not happen for the Houston Texans. True or false on the Houston Texans, Ben? They might not be the worst team in the NFL.
I'm going to go false. I think that they're still a mess constructively with their head coaching staff. Deshaun, of course, that news, of course, off their team. It's definitely there is some cause of concern if you're a Texan fan. I'm not expecting them to do much, but of course that week one game for them was a big pleasant surprise.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts, true or false. Their training camp COVID issues took a toll. I think it took a toll during training camp, but I feel like that the Colts are going to be fine down the road. True or false on this, Ben? The Colts training camp COVID issues took a toll.
I'm going to go true, but I think that they're kind of at a point right now where they can move on and be okay with it.
Absolutely. So now moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Having Trevor Lawrence does not mean Urban Meyer will win. That is completely false. Trevor Lawrence, are you kidding me? He's a generational type quarterback. I think that Urban Meyer is definitely going to win some ball games. A lot of people are speculating early that he's going to be one and done in Jacksonville. I'm a person that says, wait. Put the brakes on that, because I think that Urban Meyer is the right coach for Jacksonville, and I think he's in a very good situation because he doesn't have to deal a lot with health issues because Jacksonville's in a small market. He dealt with numerous health issues during his tenure with Florida and Ohio State because those were big media market teams. But now that since he's in Jacksonville, he doesn't have to worry about being healthy that much since Jacksonville's kind of a small market. So true or false in this one, Ben? Having Trevor Lawrence does not mean Urban Meyer will win.
I think that the Jaguars, outside the quarterback, I'm not sure how much they really have defensively. Offensively, they have some guys. I think Urban Meyer will win them some games, but I don't know how many games they could win with them. I think Lawrence in his first season will go through a bunch of pains that he hasn't been accustomed to in the past because he's been so successful. But he'll, of course, have his really good moments, and Meyer will be a big reason why, because he's just a very good coach.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this next segment here for the Kansas City Chiefs. And don't have a lot of time to we don't have too much. We don't have to spend a lot of time talking about this. And I know this is true, that Patrick Mahomes remains king of the NFL. I'm going to say true. What about you, Ben?
You can't really deny it at this point. I mean, if you don't know that Patrick Mahomes is the real deal, I don't know what to tell you. He just has everything, his smarts, his football IQ in terms of where he wants to throw the football, his arm accuracy, just his presence on the field is big. Without a doubt. He's the king of the NFL.
Absolutely. So also let's talk about the last.
Right now, sorry to cut you off. Tom Brady all time, king of the NFL, but in terms of the new era, the top quarterback right now is the king of the NFL. That is Patrick Mahomes, yeah.
It is Patrick Mahomes. You're absolutely right. Don't be shocked if he wins another MVP this season. Anyway, so let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders now. They might have something in wide receiver. I'm going to say true because other than Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfrow and Zay Jones, I think the Las Vegas Raiders have a good receiving core, but really, their offense is built around Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, and Darren Waller. True or false? They might have something at wide receiver.
Yeah, they have some guys. Derek Carr was saying for the week one game how much he has a lot of trust in the newcomer Bryan Edwards. Bryan Edwards was a guy in South Carolina that was a really good receiver over there. You had him with a guy like Henry Ruggs, who's a speedster from Alabama who they got. I think that he can have an even better year this year. And then you have one of the best tight ends in football, and one of the best running backs in football, and Darren Waller at tight end and Josh Jacobs at running back. The biggest thing about the Raiders is their consistency on the ground. And I think, on defense, I think their consistency on the ground, of course, is big too, but John Gruden, of course, has to find a way to keep that team consistently healthy, ready to go, and stay motivated, and they could surprise people.
They definitely could surprise a lot of people. That's for sure. So let's talk about the LA Chargers. Justin Herbert is still that guy. Are you kidding me? That is completely true. Justin Herbert is already the successor to Phillip Rivers, and he's even better than Phillip Rivers with the Chargers. So Justin Herbert is pretty much the new king in LA when it comes to quarterbacks in Los Angeles. True or false on this statement? Justin Herbert is still that guy for the Chargers.
He is, yeah. He has a really fun, bright future ahead of him. I really like what they have with Justin Herbert.
Absolutely. So now let's talk about this next statement here. The Matthew Stafford hype is warranted. I think that's true. I think Matthew Stafford is living up to the hype in LA as a Ram, and I do expect big things out of Matthew Stafford in LA.
Yeah, I think, obviously you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but he has a good plan in him where he can be successful with a lot of good running backs, really good receivers there. So, and then you got a really good offensive mind coach in Sean McVay. So, yes, I think that Matthew Stafford is going to have a very good season. I think that he's going to be taken seriously this year in the NFL.
And then the next statement is, for the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Waddle is ready to shine. I'm going to say true because I think he could be this year's Justin Jefferson. And I think he's a good slot receiver for the Dolphins. And I think drafting him is going to help Tua Tagovailoa thrive in year 2 and with the Miami Dolphins. And I do expect big things from Tua in year 2. And I think he's going to have a great game against the Buffalo Bills. What about you?
Yeah, I think Jalen Waddle is legit. I think that he really put it on display in week 1 against New England. I think just his health, that's the biggest thing about Waddle because he's had some injury problems in the past. But if he could stay healthy, he's going to be definitely a rookie that's going to shine for sure.
All right, so now let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Their offensive line is still an issue. I want to say true because I think that the offensive line has to protect Kirk Cousins and they have to find holes for Dalvin Cook. Mm-hmm. True or false on this one? The Minnesota Vikings offensive line is still an issue.
Yeah, I would say true. They do have some, even though with a great running back in Dalvin Cook, they have to find a way to give him more holes for him to kind of try to get more confidence in his game, even though he's a really good running back, but their offensive line has been definitely an issue.
Let's talk about this from our New England Patriots, Ben. Mac Jones was right to be declared QB1, and I said it from the get-go. That is completely true. I just think that when he came in, when he was drafted 15th overall, and he came in to OTAs and training camp, he understood the playbook right away, and he was very good in these 3 preseason games that led to Cam Newton being left off the roster. True or false on this one, Ben? Mac Jones was right to be declared QB1 for the Patriots.
I'm probably going to go with, yeah, true. I think, though, the biggest question was about Cam Newton, about his release. I thought was a little bit surprising. But I do think that Mac Jones really outplayed him, and that was the biggest thing, that if he could outplay the quarterback in front of him, he could take the job, and he was able to. So well-deserved for Mac Jones, and he should be really fun and exciting for the future of the New England Patriots.
Absolutely. I can't wait to watch him play in his second career NFL game. So anyways, with that being said, let's go to the New Orleans Saints. I mean, they might have problems finding a successor to Drew Brees, but is Jameis Winston a good thing for the Saints? True or false? I'm going to say it's only one game, but I could see maybe he could be right up there with Sam Darnold as the league's comeback player of the year if he keeps this up, because I think so far Sean Payton has really, really resurrected his career.
Sorry, just say it one more time. My bad.
So do you think it's true that Jameis Winston is a good thing for the Saints? And I say it's true because I think Sean Payton so far is resurrecting his career.
Yeah, I just have to see Jameis Winston be more consistent. I think if he could stay consistent, he has a good chance to thrive in New Orleans with a really good offensive coach and Sean Payton. But I really just have to see more out of Jameis before I kind of get over myself in terms of that he's going to be the right fit for them, because he's taking over one of the best quarterbacks of all time, Drew Brees. So I really have to kind of see more out of James before I can kind of say, okay, like he's going to be a big time help for that team.
All right, so let's talk about this for the New York Giants. Their defense is probably overrated. I have no comment on that. Their defense isn't that great, but we'll just have to see how their defense progresses as the year goes on. Do you think, Ben, that the Giants' defense is overrated? True or false in that one?
Yeah, I think that they are. I do think that they have some pieces there on defense, but I do think that they have to be more consistent, and they have to, they have some guys that can make plays. But I just think that just constructively, I think that the Giants are not as good defensively, and I think that they have a bunch of holes that offenses can exploit on them.
Absolutely. So let's go to the New York Jets now. Offensive line, in fact, is a mess. And I'm going to say, yes, it is a mess without Mekhi Becton. But I do think that Vera Tucker's good, but you need a healthy Mekhi Becton. Do you think it's true or false that the Jets' offensive line is, in fact, a mess?
I'd say true, yeah. I mean, the Jets' offensive line in past years has been a huge problem, and it continues to be if they can't keep their quarterback healthy, especially a young quarterback. You don't want to get him hurt. We saw what happened to Burrow, of course, last year. You want to make sure that you can have a healthy offensive line to keep a young quarterback upright and for him to basically shot and make plays.
All right, so let's talk about this next one for the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni has the juice, and I'm going to say he does have the juice. I think he's an upgrade of a coach over Doug Peterson. I think Nick Sirianni is a great offensive mind. I think he's great for Jalen Hurts, and I think the Eagles are going to be a lot better than what people think. A lot of people have underestimated the Eagles before the season began, but I think that Nick Sirianni has the juice to make the Eagles a competitive football team. Ben, what do you think?
I think that the Eagles could be decent this year. I'm not sure they're going to be great, but I think that Sirianni with a new head coach, being a younger type of guy, I think that with the new younger quarterback too, and Jalen Hurts, I just think a younger quarterback with the younger head coach, I think is a really good match right there. And we'll see how he could be able to do between the two consistently wise down the stretch. And so I really think that Sirianni is going to be a big help to that team over kind of an older coach than Doug Peterson.
All right, so let's talk about this here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. True or false? They can't be counted out. I'm going to say that is true. You can't count out the Steelers. I underestimated them before the season began because I'm not really high on the Steelers, but I think their defense is going to keep them in the ball games. True or false?
I'm going to say true. I just think that their offense with Big Ben, he's getting older. I don't know if I can trust Big Ben, but I can trust that they can make some offensive plays here and there, but their defense should be a lot of fun this year. And of course, you still got a really good head coach in Mike Tomlin. So between all those three, facets there, I can't question them at all.
And also true or false here, the 49ers need reinforcements in their secondary because they lost Jason Verrett. Is that true or false?
I'm going to say false, actually. I think that their secondary still should be able to be okay without Verrett. I know Verrett's a really good corner, but I think that they have some guys in that secondary that can make some plays. I know that they got Josh Norman to maybe help out. Not sure how much he will be able to help out at this point, but I think that their defensive line is kind of their big key part to that team. And so I think that they should be okay without Verrett.
All right, so now let's talk about here for the Seahawks. With Russell Wilson, the Shane Waldron offense looks like a match. I'm going to say true. I think there was a lot of speculation about Russell Wilson staying in, leaving Seattle. I do expect Russell Wilson to finish his career in Seattle, and I think that he is getting along with Shane Waldron as his new offensive coordinator, and I think that Shane Waldron is helping Russell Wilson play to his strengths. Is that true or false?
I'm going to go true and false. I think true in terms of for right now, in order to make him happy, he has to have the protection in front of him. They did keep Dwayne Brown to a little bit of a deal there, which is big because I think that's, of course, something that Russ wanted. But Russ right now is in a make or break type of season. I still think that there could be some potentially this offseason, some more rumors out there depending on what happens with the Seahawks this year. Especially just with him just being a quarterback that I think could be going somewhere else if he really wants to. He has that, privilege. So I'm going to say yes and no about that one.
And what about the Saints, him being a match with Shane Waldron as offensive coordinator for the Seahawks?
I'm going to go true. Yeah, I really like that. I know that he was with Brian Schottenheimer last year. Schottenheimer, of course, moved on. He parted ways, I believe. And I think that this new offensive corner seems like he's going to be a good fit for Russ.
All right, let's talk about this for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady might actually be in his prime. I'm going to say that's true. I think Tom Brady is in his prime because he does have the receivers that he can throw the ball to and make his offenses look unstoppable. True or false?
I'm going to say false. I know I love Tommy to death. He's my QB. I don't think he's in his prime. I think that he's kind of at the end, but he's playing better, I think, than a lot of what his prime kind of showed because, his prime years, he was just dominated with a lot of receivers and got guys around help. That some guys are really good, don't get me wrong, but he is basically an all-star type of roster offensively around him. So he doesn't really have much of an excuse to not, perform in terms of his ability. I do give him credit, though, where credit's due is he was able to go to a new place where I think a lot of people didn't expect that he'd be able to do or not and go and win a Super Bowl in his first year with the new team. And just it seems like this year is going to be even better. So I don't think he's in his prime, but Brady still has it, as they can say. He just has everything that's going well for him.
He still has it, that's for sure. So anyways, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. Their offensive line might be in big trouble. I'm going to say that's false. I think if you have a healthy Taylor Lewan, I think that the Tennessee offensive line is really, really good. What about you, Ben?
I'm going to probably go true. I mean, I know, like you said, Lewan's good, but I think that there's still a lot of holes in that offensive line. Tannehill, I think, when he has time in the pocket and makes plays, he can make them. But when he gets under pressure, like we saw on Sunday, he does have a tendency to turn the ball over and get sacked. So, yeah, I'd probably go with true on that one.
And then also, let's talk about this for the Washington football team. Ryan Fitzpatrick was always really risky. That is a comment that I'm not going to say true or false on. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is a great late-game quarterback, but at the same time, I don't think he's always risky. What about you, Ben?
A risky quarterback, you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he does have a lot of guts in some of the plays that he makes, but I think overall, I'd probably say false on that one. I think he's just a really good standard quarterback for a team that needs it. He's an older guy. He knows a lot of systems. So I'd probably go false on that one. I think he's not that risky.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. So anyways, with that being said here, now let's talk about the next thing we're going to talk about next is some injury notes. So what's your thoughts on Raheem Mostert being out for the season? And that's a huge blow for the 49ers.
Yeah, man, he can't catch a break. He had some injury problems last year. When unhealthy, he is a very good running back. But, of course, I just can't trust him. It seems like to stay on the field. So, wish Raheem the best of luck in his recovery, and hopefully that he can come back stronger than ever for next season.
Absolutely. So, anyways, with that being said, now let's go to our final topic of the night, and that is the Patriots and Jets game preview. And let's preview the game, keys to the game, and score predictions. So let's start with the game preview here. So the Patriots take on the Jets in week 2, and I think the Patriots should win this game, but let's break down their schedule for the next 3. So you got the Jets week 2, week 3, and then weeks 3 and 4, you got 2 home games. One of them is against the New Orleans Saints. That will be next Sunday. And then the big one in week 4, and I bet you and I will probably be crying watching this, is when Tom Brady makes his return to Gillette Stadium in week 4 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I bet I'm going to be calling you before the game to ask you, are you feeling all right or something like that? Because we're going to be talking about this a lot on the Extra Point Show on Sunday. So basically, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. So since for the next 3 games for the Patriots, do you think that these next 3 could be winnable games when they play the Jets, and then when they play the Saints, and then when they play the Buccaneers?
I mean, I think for a lot of these games are winnable. Tampa, I think they won't win, but I think they'll give them a run for their money. The Saints are going to be a really tough one. The Saints have a really good defense, I think. I think that their offense, they have some guys that can make plays, but I'm not sure how I can trust them consistently. So I think that the Patriots have a chance in that one. But I think in the Jets, I wouldn't underestimate in terms of what Zach Wilson can do. And just kind of leading into the game preview here, I think that this Patriots team will bounce back. I think that their defense will play a lot better. I think that their offense can be even better than they were in game one. I think the biggest question about the Patriots is just to not turn the ball over like they did week one and their penalties. If they play free in terms of free penalties, no penalties, and free turnover, football, I think they win in week two, and I think that's what they'll do in week two. I think they'll just play a lot cleaner of a game, and I think that Wilson will have a big one. I think he'll throw for 2 touchdowns, but I think he'll make a key interception at the end, and I think that the Patriots will prevail in a score of 24-17.
Absolutely. So we have some injury news to talk about with the New England Patriots. So let's go with the Chet Brown injury before I talk about my expectations for the Patriots and Jets game. So Trent Brown was reportedly questionable with a calf injury that he suffered in the loss against the Miami Dolphins. And from what I'm hearing today is that his latest update on the Patriots OT was encouraging. So do you think that Trent Brown will be ready to go Sunday and play?
I do. I think that was a big loss, low-key in week one. The right side really struggled without Trent Brown. And I think that if you have a healthy Trent Brown on your right side, it pays big dividends. I think that Mac Jones will play a lot better if he has a cleaner pocket. He did have a clean pocket when Brown left at times, but I think that if Brown could stay out there and play for a lot of the game, it just helps him a lot more. And I think that his big body really helps and on the offensive line. So
absolutely. His big body does help with that offensive line. That's for sure. So anyways, I'm going to talk about my keys to the Patriots. So we'll talk about what they need to do heading into week 2 against the Jets. You got to clean up the penalties. I mean, there were so many costly penalties that the Patriots had. Isaiah Wynn was called for too many holding penalties and all that. I think that the Patriots had more penalties than the Dolphins did. So they really have to clean it up, and they can't really get more penalties. I mean, the calls that the refs got were right. But I just think that they just need to play a clean game.
Yeah, they do. Their offensive line has to keep Mac upright. They got to play, just mistake-free football. And I think that their defense can play a little more aggressive. They have to work. Their keys to the game are, scoring early and playing just complementary football, as Bill Belichick loves to say, to win ball games. Keys to the offense are to play really well, defense, special teams. You win that game on Sunday if you do all those 3 things.
I think the Patriots do win this game, but my keys are execute early on offense and complete the drive on the first time around. I mean, that's kind of one of my keys here. Second key is limit penalties, because I think that there was a lot of penalties that the Patriots had in week 1 against the Dolphins, too many holding penalties. I think you gotta cool it with penalties, and I think if the Patriots cool it with penalties, then I think that the Patriots will have a great day on the offensive side of the ball. But as for the defense, I thought the defense did its job in the second half, but it wasn't enough for the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. But I feel like that the Patriots pass rush is going to have to be on its A game to get to Zach Wilson. I think Matt Judon is going to be a force. I think Matt Judon is going to be a force on that side of the ball defensively, along with Chase Longhair Man Winovich. I think he had a pretty good game last week. But I also think that Jonathan Jones, who made the big pick last week, I could expect him to step up big time. And J.C. Jackson, I want him to cover Denzel Mims or Corey Davis.
Yeah, you just have to, get to the quarterback. Of course, Wilson is a running quarterback, so you have to obviously contain him. And you just have to limit the penalties. And I think that if you do that, like I've said in the last couple things I've said here, but it's true. I mean, Mac Jones has to play really good football again like he did in week 2. I know he's going to go through some growing pains, but this is, of course, a really it's a team that you don't want to overlook in the New York Jets. I think the New York Jets definitely have something going for them, even though that they lost in week 1. They always play hard against us, I feel like. And I think that the Patriots will win, but I think it'll be very, very close.
It is going to be a very close game. It could be like last year's Monday night game when the Patriots won on a field goal against the Jets, which I really think that could happen here. So I also forgot to mention this. One of my other keys to the game for the Patriots against the Jets on Sunday is limit fumbles. Like Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, hold on to the football.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, turnovers are a big component in football. I mean, you turn the ball over a lot in games, you're not expected to win. Even though a game like on Sunday where they could have won despite all that, it's just really hard to overcome. You have to really hold on the football and make some critical things happen. Be able to, hold on to the football after a catch, after a run, after a return. It's just all key in terms of your success for winning a football game.
Absolutely. That's what you're going to have to do if you want to win a football game. That's for sure here. So anyways, those are our keys to the game. Let's talk about some score predictions. So I'm going to say the Patriots win. Do you think it's going to be, before we talk about score predictions, do you think it's going to be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game?
I'm going to go low. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
I'm going to agree with you. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game because Bill Belichick and Robert Saleh are minds that they think alike when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. I think Mike LaFleur and Josh McDaniels are going to call the offensive plays. Robert Saleh is going to be calling the defensive plays. But he also has an input on the offense because he is obviously the head coach of the Jets. And even though he's a defensive-minded coach, he surely has to give his input on the offense as well.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Even though that he's a defensive-minded coach, because sometimes we think that when there's a head coach that knows defense, they only focus on the defensive side of the ball and special teams. And that's what Robert Saleh brings to the Jets, is that his defensive toughness, his energy, motivation on the Jets sideline. And I do expect him to be calling a lot of the defensive plays.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. It's going to be a defensive battle, I think, for sure on Sunday.
I'm going to say the Patriots win 24-21, and I predict Nick Folk is going to kick a 35-yard field goal to win the game.
I'm going to go 24-17 Patriots. I think that they'll pull out a late touchdown and hold on to the lead after a defensive possession.
Let's talk about our prediction. So who is going to be the Patriots Offensive MVP on Sunday against the Jets? I'm going to keep continuing to go with I'm going to go with two guys actually on offense who are going to come up for us really, really big. I'm going to say Mac Jones and Damian Harris. And the reason why I picked Damian Harris is because after the fumble he had, I expect him to take that off his rust, and that he's going to bounce back from that performance, and that he's going to rush for over 100 yards. And I think Mac Jones is going to continue his upward progress.
I'm going to go with the two tight ends. I think the Boston Tea Party, will come up big in this one. I know that they kind of had a sluggish start, I guess you can say. Henry had a couple catches in the second half, as well as Johnny Smith had some plays here and there. But I think that they'll be a lot more consistent in the passing game on Sunday against the Jets.
And my defensive players of the game, I'm going to go with I'm going to go with two guys actually on defense. I'm going to go with Matt Judon, who I think is going to be a huge part of huge part of the defensive game plan on Sunday against the Jets. I'm going to pick Cam, and I'm also going to pick I'm going to say Kyle Van Noy. Welcome back to the Patriots. I think he had a great game last week in his first game back. I expect Kyle Van Noy to be making some plays, and I think he and Dante Hightower are going to be the ones that are going to do the talking on defense.
My bad. I'm going to go with Lawrence Scott. I think the Lawrence Scott kind of gets overlooked in this defense, and I think that the running game defense is going to come up big in this one. I think that that'll be a big reason why that they won on Sunday.
And also with special teams, I'm going to say that Jake Bailey is going to be a big part of the special teams. He's my special teams MVP because I think he's going to be making some really good punts, and I think there's going to be punts that are going to be down at the 1 yard line or something like that.
Yeah, I think Jake Bailey, of course, I don't really worry too much about Bailey. I think that he'll be just fine. And, he'll help the field position when the Patriots can't execute on their first or third down conversions.
All right, so final thoughts and announcements here. So I want to remind everybody that we will have our next Loro and Friends Inside the NFL show next Tuesday on September 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Ben and I will be recapping the Patriots and Jets game, and we'll also dive deep and look ahead to when the Patriots play their second home game of the season when they take on the New Orleans Saints. And hopefully we're going to talk about a Patriot win next Tuesday. And also thank you to everybody that watched our show, and that hopefully that you agree with our predictions. Our show will be posted on our Facebook page and also on YouTube as well. Ben, you have any final thoughts before we close this out?
Yeah, thanks for having me again for episode 2. Like you said, hopefully the Patriots win. Hopefully that they are able to play a lot more cleaner football, and hopefully week 2 brings us a lot more exciting games like it did in week 1. It should be a really fun season like we have mentioned in the past. But outside of that, thanks for having me again, Loro, and I'll see you back on Sunday for the M16 with Isaiah for that episode. But then for Lone Friends next Tuesday, hopefully we can talk about the Patriots win and then recap more of the week 2 NFL games, as well as our preview for week 3 when the Patriots play the Saints. So outside of that, hopefully you have a good rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, Ben, I'll see you on Sunday and next Tuesday. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.
All right, man.